Welcome back, Daily Show. 9:57. We're going to wrap up the 10 o'clock hour and then start our legal spotlight segment with Keith Short and Associates. Before we go into the segment, let's just talk about the office. You know, I mean, let's brag about you guys a little bit here. I mean, it is Christmas and Festivus is tomorrow, so I can't.
I've got my poll up already.
Estella's going to do feats of strength. You know, you guys were just named Best of the Best, and you know, a different media thing and all of that, but it's really cool to see you guys recognized because you do great work and going above and beyond. You have a great staff, and I'm sure to have them recognized is a really great way to kind of end the year.
It is. They're, you know, it was funny. I mentioned to my son last night that I'm doing these advertising things now to try to grow my firm, and he asked me why. You know, the firm's doing incredibly well. Why would you bother? And I said, well, you know, the thing is I'm 60. I'll practice for maybe 10 more years, but it's important to me because this group of people is the best group I've ever had in my career. And it's important to me that we develop a strong enough practice that when I decide to walk away, it'll just keep going. And I'm telling you, the great results we get start with them.
Yeah.
And so when they were picked as the best law firm in Madison County, or however it's arranged, I don't know. When they were picked, it didn't shock me, frankly. And if you work at that firm, every single person at that firm right now, I am perfectly content with. I would work with the rest of my career because they're that good.
Well, and it seems like, you know, and really get the idea of it now more so just talking to the last couple of months is that it's not really work for you guys because you're really just living a mission and you're a team. And that's where I think it's so fascinating with, especially your industry.
I have to tell you something that literally just happened like 10 minutes before I got here. My partner, Holly, came and told me she's got a case where they're, for a work comp claim, it is a phenomenal amount of money they're willing to pay her and our client. It would probably be the second largest, what we call a lump sum, one big pile for our client at one time that we've ever had. And we've handled thousands of cases. And she said no. She said, no, we're not going to take it. Not that we wanted necessarily more money for our client, although we would be nice. They weren't going to leave the medical open. And Holly understood, look, my client, it doesn't benefit us at all. Our client has to have this left open. His own health insurance will fight it. He still needs care. No.
Absolutely.
And so then she calls me right before I walk out the door. They went up another 75,000 is what she said, more dollars. And she said, no. She said, what part of this are you not understanding? Yeah. And so people don't get, like, Holly understands. It doesn't matter to us. You know, we do incredibly well in so many departments. Her job is to look out for this person, not in a pile of money now, but next year and the year after. So that's, and one other thing I want to mention before we go on to what you want to talk about is, you know, we're thinking about offering once a month, like 6 slots of 20 or 30 minutes where people can come to my office, sit down with me and ask me anything.
Wow.
About the law. Like, I helped you one time.
Yeah,
you had an issue. And didn't
I've talked about it. You helped my dad without it. Seriously, thank you.
Didn't benefit me at all. But the point is, the lawyer I help you find, you would never have found on your own.
Never.
Right?
Never.
And she did a fantastic job helping you guys out and didn't bill you to death.
No.
So the thing is if we do this, this sort of pro bono service where you can come sit down with me for about 20, 30 minutes, there'll be areas that people will ask me about that I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And so the deal would be that, hey, give me a little bit of headway so that I can just do a little bit of research and I can help steer you to a lawyer who can really help you. I get nothing for this, absolutely nothing. And some of the lawyers I might send you to, I have zero relationship with at all. But I know their reputation. I know they're very good. I know they take care of people. So it's part of, like, with this whole Christmas thing, it's kind of like that Miracle on 34th Street movie line, you know, where they didn't have the product there, so Santa sent them somewhere else. And people thought, well, why are you doing this? Well, we're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. It won't benefit us.
Yeah.
So if you were to come to me and say, hey, I'm having a problem with my neighbor, it's a property dispute, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
It's not what we do. But let me help you find somebody who will not bill you to death and will take good care of you. And then hopefully you'll remember that. And then someday you'll say, you'll pay that back. And, hey, I know a guy you can trust. Call him.
Well, and how many times do you hear, and I'm sure maybe you don't, I hear it all the time because I get the nasty voicemails, but it's, you know, it's all about who you know-ism thing, you know, or the small town, you know, gimmick. And yes, and to a lot of things, I agree with that. But, you know, now to open your doors and say, you know, I'm here for anyone. That's going to be really cool to do. And before we move on, because I want to talk about that as we wrap up this segment today, I think that'd be a good bookend. 12 days of giveaways you guys did. How was that? Because that's really cool that your team did this.
It was actually, it was really funny. What I told the staff was we had the greatest year we've ever had. So we did the Thanksgiving thing where we gave away all the turkeys and the full meals, and Sam and Rosa and the whole team just did such a fantastic job putting that together, and I just paid for it. I mean, physically did nothing. I'm not going to take any credit. The staff did everything. And then, so one day I said, we need to keep this going. And so I said, why don't we do our own 12 Days of Christmas? Well, all I did was give the idea. And then they flew with it. And actually, I came up with this way of we could announce it to people, and it was apparently a dumb idea because the ladies just ignored me, and they redid it all, which worked so much better. So it has just been fantastic because what we decided to do was let's not only help some folks who might need some help with certain items for Christmas, but let's also help a bunch of our local businesses that are independent businesses. Yeah. So we tried to avoid any chains. Like for instance, just Saturday I had lunch with a friend of mine at Brownback, fantastic restaurant, right? So we went there, and we went to a bunch of other Bakers and Hale, which I try past twice a day. And I thought, this can just help our community, not necessarily the big chains and everything else.
Really cool. We're going to come back. It's 10:04 for our top of the hour break, and then we're going to come back with our true legal education segment. I just wanted to spotlight all the great things at the office real quick. We're in Christmas mode, as you can see, and we're going to come back with all you need to know about really just how a lawsuit works. Yeah, that Santa's been through it all. I'm telling you what.
It looks okay.
Yeah, more than actually. Accidents happen in a heartbeat, but lives change forever. Whether it's a car crash, workplace injury, medical malpractice, or wrongful death, you don't have to face the consequences alone. Keith Short and Associates brings over 33 years of experience and a reputation for fighting fiercely for your rights. For relentless representation that you can trust, call Keith Short and Associates at 618-254-0055 today for a free consultation.
Do you need to declutter your space? Time to call me, the Queen of Junk. Since 1993, we have grown to be the leader in residential, commercial, and property management junk removal. At Sparks Junk Removal, we are eco-friendly. We recycle, donate, or repurpose items back into our community. Trash is our last resort to the landfill. Plus, with our all-inclusive service, our crews handle everything from labor to lifting and landfill fees. Give us a call or visit our website, sparksjunkremoval.net, to reclaim your space today.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
What's up? It's Mike Keith. What's up, bro? Good, my guy. Back to spotlight other amazing alumni and how they discovered their path at Lewis and Clark. Let's jump into it. This is Dwight Wirtz, president of Wirtz Welding and Tank Service, the nation's premier distributor of tank trailer parts. Dwight has been an outspoken and long-time supporter of the college and is the current chairperson of Lewis and Clark Board of Trustees. Oh, and he's a Lewis and Clark grad.
I'm Dwight Wirtz, and I am a trailblazer.
Throughout all life stages, you need someone in your corner, guiding you on your health and wellness journey. At OSF Healthcare, that's your primary care provider. Your OSF primary care provider is there for every stage of life. Find a provider today at osfhealthcare.org/primary.
$10:07. Welcome back. Top of the hour with Keith Short and Associates. And as we really get into the nuts and bolts of this segment today and wrapping up the conversations really for the year, Sydney's going to join us at 10:40 to wrap up the live shows. But, this is a great segment because we talk a lot about different types of cases that you're on and your expertise. But to break down the lawsuit and really just how it works, I think is a fascinating one in its own because, I just had this the other day. There's always I don't know if you go through this, but there's always that one person we know that's going to sue the hell out of everybody, you know. Even if it's the most minor inconvenience, you know, they're taking them down. But I couldn't tell you really how it begins.
Yeah. No, and that stuff's kind of a myth because no lawyer takes those cases because they always end up being pro se because let's be honest, in the end, for most of it's just a business.
Yeah.
And they're not going to make any money on it, so you can threaten to sue all day long unless you handle it yourself. You're going nowhere.
Yeah.
So to tell you how almost every lawsuit goes, doesn't matter what it is, if you retain an attorney, you either end up paying a retainer to that attorney, you're paying them by the hour, or in my case, the kind of work that we do, with the exception of the wills that Holly does, everything's contingent. We have to win. Like I said, we're intellectual gamblers. We gamble on ourselves and our skill level. But what happens is you come in to see me and you tell me your story. You sit down with me, you sit down with the staff, and we take a bunch of information from you. We have a long talk with you at that time about how the law works. And then we tell you the steps. Like, for instance, people don't know, at some point you're going to have to give a deposition, which means you'll sit in my office or any attorney's office. And a lawyer for the insurance company will ask you 3 hours max of questions. They don't typically last that long. But let me give you an example. I have a lot of people come in there terrified of depositions, and I've done over 6,000.
I could see it being intimidating.
Yeah, but this is what I tell them. They will not be rude to you. That's sort of a myth. There are some guys who are like that, but I'm there with you, and it won't happen for very long.
Right.
But normally they're not rude to you on either side. The defense lawyers really just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
And so they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. A lot of it you're going to think aren't relevant, like where'd you grow up? What's it got to do with my car accident? They'll ask you about your family members in the county, and that's really not to pry, but if we pick a jury, they want to know if they're going to be on the list.
Gotcha.
But there are areas where they're going to try to see if they can get you, but what they're really doing is they're trying to get to see how believable you are and how the jury's going to assess you.
Yep.
So I'm there with you, but so what I tell people is this. I can count on one hand the number of depositions that were ugly, and I've done over 6,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and the reality is this. 5 minutes into it, you're going to be terrified. 5 or 10 minutes in it, you're going to think, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah.
It's really nothing. And they just want to ask you some questions. I'm there. We already prepared you for the whole thing. And then I'm doing the same thing to the defendants.
Do you ever have, and this is, I'm sure, just like a weird out there outlier, but is there ever times where you know of the other attorney that's going to be giving the deposition, and it's not that they're deceitful or they're trying to be deceptive, but the way they ask their questions, you have to kind of let your clients know, hey, you know, they might not play gotcha, but they might ask you in a way a gotcha question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you do this long enough, you know everyone.
Okay, yeah.
It becomes very incestuous. We all know each other. We're all dealing with each other, the same groups all the time. And so I used to be notoriously short-tempered. Hard to imagine if you know me, but I used to be. And so a lot of, and I've really worked on that with a lot of counseling and other things. But my job is to protect the people who I'm sitting next to, and I'm going to do that. So, but 99% of these guys are really decent people, men and women. But there are people who have certain methods of asking questions that are going to get you boxed in. And I know it.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen over and over. I'll give you an example. They'll say to you, CJ, at the time of the accident, how fast are you going? You're going to say 35. And they're going to say, how do you know that? I was looking at the speedometer. So you weren't looking at the road at that moment, right? Yep. So I already know to tell you to say, I was going approximately this speed, which is true because we rarely stare at the speedometer. And I ask my clients, are you going the speed of the traffic that's with you? Yeah. Okay. Then that's what you say.
Yeah.
You say what's true, but you don't say, and they love numbers. They love numbers. I was 40 feet away because the moment they have a number, they can start doing the math and braking times and things like that. So you weren't paying attention. And I tell them, look, I don't care what they say. Don't give them a number. Just don't.
Yeah.
They ask you 74 times, don't give a number because you don't know the exact number, and they're going to try to say that's an exact number, and they're going to use that math and try to make you look like you're lying. So, yeah, that stuff happens.
That's interesting. Well,
Yeah.
So, from right off the bat, before we even get to a deposition, let's say that we're ready to file a lawsuit or we're just, something happens. We can pick any instance to go through. Let's just say car accident for the sake of it. and going from there. They pick up the phone and they call you. They meet with you first. How long does it take for your office to gather data, to gather details, decide if you're going to do this or not? What's that layover time look like for the person on the other end of the phone?
Well, we know.
Okay.
We know within the first hour if we're going to take the case or not.
Interesting.
And we probably know, truthfully, within the first 15 minutes. And a lot of it has to do with the read of the person. Do we believe them? Most folks come in with a lot of information, because what happens is when we call, we tell you, bring this stuff with you.
Yeah.
We give you a list. And then the question we always get is this. We get asked the same questions all the time. Well, do you think this is going to go to trial? And I always tell people, well, statistically, about 95% of these cases don't. But you should assume that it will, and we prepare every case as though it will. And that, if it doesn't, great, wonderful. But we get asked that, and we get asked in a case. This is a question that really does actually personally bother me. We get asked at the beginning, well, what's it worth? I don't know.
Is that a bad question? I feel like that's a bad question to ask, because it's not really saying, to me, it's a greedy question.
Yeah, it's a greedy question, and it's a question that if they really were thinking about this, there's no way I can answer it, because I don't know I only know your version of the reality that happened. I don't know what your medical records say. I don't know what, for instance, let's say that you're in a horrible accident and your medical bills are $50,000, and the person who hit you has $25,000 of insurance. Guess what your case is worth? $25,000. Probably, and that's it.
Well, and now, to me, too, as a consumer, if I'm going on and someone gives me a dollar amount on the first 10 minutes of a consultation or however long it is, that's an immediate red flag to me, because everything needs some investigation, especially when we're talking about this. Yeah,
the one area of law that I do that doesn't apply to is medical malpractice.
Yep, we were just talking about that.
Because it's got to be, in my mind, theoretically at least, a significant amount of money, or I just can't invest that much of my client, or my time, my money, my employees' time in it. So that's the one. I always tell people, look, it's got to be worth a lot, or you wouldn't be here.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't let you be here. I wouldn't set up the appointment.
Well, and now, so after that, you decide on taking the case. How quickly do you start filing paperwork? Do you have to get all this data from us first? How long is that timeline? Because I'm sure, like we talked about before, we aren't done in 2 weeks. It's going to take some time, but just in the buildup, how long does it take just to get everything filed and really starting to roll? Okay,
in a work comp claim, if you met us on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock, it would be filed by 2 o'clock.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, because we don't need a lot of data to do that. A car accident case, as long as I have the police report and I know the basics, a day or two. We don't waste any time. There are a lot of law firms that will try to negotiate a settlement, but what happens is they kill 6 months, don't get it done, then they have to file a suit. Now you're 6 months behind.
Yep.
Medical malpractice is the standout, because what we have to do is gather all the records, and then we have to get those to an expert, and we have to have an expert certify the case. We can't go forward. So we tell clients it takes us 60 to 90 days just to get the records. It's going to take us another 45 to 60 days to get a report back, and then another week or so to draft it. So you're looking at no fewer than 4 to 6 months before we can file that suit. Sometimes it's a little quicker. The problem is you come in, you only have a 2-year statute of limitations, and you come in with 2 months to go.
Oh no.
Then I got a bind. So
a big one.
You have a bigger bind.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, and so after that, you file paperwork and all. What's the next step? Is that when we go to deposition mode?
What happens before that is you get a bunch of written discoveries.
Okay.
They send you a series of questions. It's very complicated, and the staff has been trained to help you answer those questions. So what happens is, CJ, you have Erica or Taryn send you a bunch of these questions. Some of them you don't understand. They help you. They explain what the question is. You two formulate your answer. Then it comes to the lawyer. The lawyer can say, well, the way this is worded creates a problem for us, and it may not actually reflect the reality of what happened, or frankly, just the verbiage isn't very good. We never change the truth. We just make sure that it is worded in a way that will not be a landmine for you. And then while we're answering that stuff, they're doing the same thing. They'll also send you what's called requests for production. And they want to know, like if you claim lost wages, you got to produce wage records. You got to produce photographs that you have of the car accident scene. You've got to produce all kinds of information.
I wanted to ask you about that, because this is where I always would find it so tough, especially for maybe a sole proprietor or someone who is, maybe a contractor that's his business, and does that get interesting if, maybe there's cash jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's where I would find this to be really troublesome.
What's really troublesome is when you haven't paid your taxes on it. And now you're under oath.
Oh, no.
And you're acknowledging that I've made all this money that I haven't paid taxes on. So I tell my clients all the time, look, unless it's a massive amount of money, don't bother with it. You're just getting yourself in some trouble. Now, I also tell them you need to go back to pay your taxes.
That's a good note. That's a good editor's note, Keith.
And I do that. We actually tell them that. We put that in writing, saying, because we have an ethical obligation look, you have an obligation to pay your taxes properly. Yeah. Go see an accountant. And people think they're going to go to jail. I'm 5 years behind. No, the IRS just wants their money.
Yeah, as long as you file, you're not going to jail.
Yeah, and even then, because you can't pay if you're going to jail, so they'll work out a deal with you. The IRS will, and there's an example of our pro bono stuff. I know really good tax attorneys and really good. I'd send you over to my friend Mark. I'd send you over to some other people, Bob Brady, who are great lawyers who do that kind of work, and they can guide you through it and take care of you. And it means nothing to me. Yeah. But I don't want you to get in a bind.
It makes sense. So after discovery, deposition time, I'm guessing, and then after that, is that when you decide, is this trial worthy, or is that?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, maybe I'm off on
it's got to be trial.
It's trial this time. Okay.
From day one, and what happens is people don't realize is that we have to go to the court and get a trial date really far out, and then we backdate all this stuff. So we have to have the discovery done by this date, the depositions done by this date, and the experts done by that date, so that when the trial comes, we're ready to go.
Gotcha.
What happens, though, the last step after all the experts and all that has been done, is most cases go to mediation. And the mediations, I always tell people, I actually went to, I went through the entire Harvard mediation training program and Northwestern's. I did them both.
Wow.
And was certified at both. And it still hasn't helped me be any better at it, frankly, because mediation is like divorce. It's nobody's happy. They're paying more money than they want. The defendants are. We're probably taking less than we want, but there's a real value to getting on with your life. Yeah. So what I do, because frankly I'm somewhat impatient, and mediation isn't the best thing for me as an individual. I recognize that weakness. So I'll have Holly come with me, or I'll have Andrew come with me, because they're patient. And they'll say, when I'm ready to get up and leave and say, screw you, we're going to trial. They're like, let's just sit down for a little while. And so, we're really successful in mediations. But if the mediation doesn't work, it doesn't mean it's over, because I've had mediations fail on a Monday and we get it resolved a week later. Yeah. And if it doesn't resolve, it goes to trial, and we try more cases than almost anybody. And you're going to be in good hands.
Just incredible. And so now, obviously, if you're here in this situation, you're here, you have to go to trial, or you're going to go through with this. Do you hope for a settlement, mostly like other lawyers, or do you care what it is, just depending on what's better for your client?
Well, it's a complicated question. Your ego wants to try it and win.
I'm sure, yeah.
Your fear wants to settle it. But your professional obligation is to weigh all those factors and tell your client what's right, like Holly did this morning. Yeah. And you have to do, sometimes the easiest thing in the world is this. I have a case that I think is worth $3 million, and they've offered us $150,000. I look at my client and say, no. Just tell them no. Yeah. What's difficult is when they put $1 million on the table. Now you're like, oh boy, this is hard to. Yeah. I have a great friend who had a $25 million offer, and he said no.
Oh. Ow.
Yeah. And it came in at $34 million.
Oh wow.
It was the right call. And he talked to me. The first thing we talked about wasn't winning $34 million. It was how terrified he was that he made the wrong decision.
Well, I'm sure, because that could have flip-flopped the other way.
Sure could have, yeah. And you have to let your client know. You have to weigh it all out. You have to look at if you're good, you spend a lot of money picking mock juries. We do it all the time. I actually just hired a young person named Abigail, and Abigail, one of her jobs is going to be, in addition to IT and some other stuff, is we need to do mock juries, and we're going to do these in-house. And her job is going to be, I'll teach her how to set it all up, and we'll bring in dozens and dozens of people, and we'll do it at a neutral site. And, then it's a gamble.
Well, and see, that's where I find this really fascinating on the side standpoint of the firm, too, because a lot of problems really go back to, I think, if you're an inexperienced attorney, on the flip side of this, picking bad clients or taking bad cases, because, the reaction in reality at the end of the day is if you go to trial, there's a chance you lose. Yeah. And do you have, I'm sure, you have conversations where you go, hey, there's not a good chance, but there is an instance or circumstance where this could happen. What does that conversation look like if reality does happen in a bad way and the side is against you? What does that conversation look like with you and that client afterwards? If let's say
we don't prevail?
Yeah, if it doesn't come through.
Yeah, I've had that happen. I had a client turn down what we call a high low of 1.5 to 4.5 million, and she wouldn't listen to my advice, and we recorded the conversation, and she knew that, and then we had her talk to the judge, and she knew that, and and I said, I think this is a mistake, and to her credit, she's a wonderful person. The next day, she sent me a very long email apologizing for not listening to me. But I will not lie. I've had cases where I had one where there was $400,000 on the table. We wanted $2 million, and we got $250,000. So we lost $150,000. Yeah. And my client was okay with it because he was fully informed of, look, this is. But here's what I say to people. Gotcha. I say, CJ, look, if I have $500,000 on the table and we might lose, I'm going to say to you, there's $500,000 tax-free dollars sitting here. Then you're going to flip a coin to see if you might get $6. I said, that's greed.
Yeah,
talking.
That is.
Yeah, my job is not to get you everything. My job is to take care of you. My job is, that's when I have to look at you and say, now you're going to see the ugly side of me. Yeah. Because I'm gonna talk to you like a serious adult and say, my job is to tell you you're making a terrible mistake. Yeah. Because you could change your whole life with this amount of money, and you want to flip a coin because you somehow think you should get another $150,000. I always tell the clients this: the last person that matters in terms of what do you think the case is worth is the client. Yeah. It's just like the defendant. You don't let the defendant decide this. It doesn't matter what you think. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the defendant thinks. It matters what the 12 jurors or the judge thinks. It doesn't really matter much what I think. The only difference is I played this game for 33 years.
Before I let you go, is it hard to take the emotion out of a case?
For me, it's almost impossible.
Okay, that's because to me, it's one of those things where it's a bit, it's business. It's A to B to C, but there's this overlying and right over your head, this cloud of people's lives were affected.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the worst part. That's where I always say our work comp for me is more emotionally difficult than $1 million medical malpractice.
I can see that.
And the reason is this: the med mal case, because grandma's dead. Grandma's dead. And I'll get the money, and it might change the way medicine is handled in the future for this group of people. It might change a lot of things, but it won't change your life fundamentally other than enrich you. And that's the truth. Yeah. But on a really strong med mal case or a big car accident case, you are now injured. You don't have an income coming in. You got a house payment to make. You're worried about your future, and you've got children. And Holly has a lot more stress sometimes than I do on those calls, even though the case is worth 1/10 of what I do. Because if she loses, which almost never happens, if she loses, that person's in a bind. They got a bunch of bills, they have no income or limited income, and they're hurt. And that's why I tell people, I will say that sometimes I'm a little more jovial than she is, but she's like a shark, man. You know, and she's not going to lose. I think she went 23 for 25 this year, or in the last 3 or 4 years. And one of those, the client changed her testimony. So she told me later, she said, I just looked at her like, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, I would. That's whenever you got to take a breather.
So our emotions come into play a lot. Yeah, they do. But we have to control it.
Well, Keith, it's been great talking with you, though. Thanks. And honestly, just every segment's been really fascinating. And, thanks for your time today. I wish you nothing but the best this Christmas. And have a great New Year. We'll talk again soon.
Okay, sounds good.
10:26. I'm taking a break. We're going to wrap up everything in an article on RiverBender.com for Keith. Sydney Sinks joins us next to wrap up this live show.